I bought the apartment because it felt perfect. Quiet street, clean lobby, and most importantly, it was cheap. I went over the floor plan with the realtor: bedroom, kitchen, small hallway. That's it. No surprises. But the night I moved in, something felt off. I noticed a draft coming from the hallway wall, which was odd because there were no vents or windows, just drywall. That night, as I was unpacking, I dropped a box and it slid across the floor and hit something. Not the wall. It hit a sound, hollow, like there was a space behind the drywall. I tapped it. Hollow, definitely. Next morning, I asked the building manager. He looked confused. "There's no space behind that wall," he said. "It's just insulation and concrete." But I couldn't shake the feeling. That night, I kept hearing things. Soft knocks from inside the wall. First one, then three, then silence. I thought maybe mice, rats. But rats don't whisper. Around 2 a.m. I heard it clearly. A voice, a girl whispering from inside the wall. "Can you hear me?" I didn't sleep. I just stared at that wall until morning. By noon, I was at the hardware store, bought a hammer. Call me crazy, but I had to know. I pulled back the drywall. Behind it was a door, an old wooden door with a tarnished brass knob. There was no lock. I opened it slowly. Behind it was a pitch-black room, no windows. Just the overwhelming smell of damp earth and old sweat. I shined my phone light inside. There was a mattress, stained, torn, and carvings on the walls. Scratches, hundreds of scratch marks. The walls were closing in. Not literally, but something about the air made it feel like the room was breathing. Then I heard it. A whisper. "Don't close the door, please." I slammed it shut, sealed it, drywalled over it. I never opened that wall again. But every night since, I hear someone breathing just on the other side. Some places keep secrets hidden in the walls, but others hide their darkness behind trees. If you've ever wandered too deep into the woods, you might already know what comes next. I grew up next to a forest. It was beautiful in the fall, all oranges and reds, peaceful trails, crisp air. But my parents had one rule: never go into the woods after dark. They never explained why, just never. I was 17 the first time I broke that rule. A girl I liked dared me, said we should take a walk after sunset. I said yes, even though my chest tightened the second we stepped past the tree line. The sun dipped below the trees fast. We laughed at first, joked about monsters and ghosts. Then we saw her, a woman, standing still between the trees. Pale skin, long black hair. No shoes, just standing watching us. "Ma'am," I called. No response. Then she stepped behind a tree. We waited, but she didn't come out the other side. I walked over, heart hammering. No one, but carved into the bark of the tree was a name. My name. My blood ran cold. The girl I was with ran, I followed. The next night I heard tapping at my window. 3 taps, then silence. I looked outside. Nothing. The next morning my front lawn had muddy footprints. Barefoot, leading up to my window. That night I woke up to whispering, my name over and over again from outside the house. The whispers stopped, and I heard a soft voice from the woods. "Come back." I never did, but some nights I wake up to find leaves on my bedroom floor, and every time they're wet, like they were just picked up from the forest. You'd think the forest is where the danger ends. But sometimes the most unsettling things sit quietly in plain sight, waiting for you to raise your hand and look them in the eye. When I was in middle school, we had a substitute teacher named Mr. Rook. He was strange, too quiet, too still. He never blinked when he spoke. He had this way of smiling, not with his mouth, but with his eyes. He only taught us for a week. By the second day, we realized something weird. He never brought a bag, never wrote on the board. He just sat behind the desk, watching. Every now and then he'd ask questions. Odd ones. Have you ever forgotten who you are? Or, do you think dreams can trap you? Kids joked about him, called him a vampire. But I couldn't laugh, because every night that week, I dreamed of him. He'd be standing at the foot of my bed, smiling, asking me things. Like, do you like being awake? Would you like to stay asleep forever? I'd wake up in a sweat, heart racing. Friday came, last day. He called roll like always. But when he got to my name, he paused. Then he said, "You won't be here Monday." Everyone laughed. I didn't. That weekend I was almost hit by a car. It missed me by inches. But on Monday, he wasn't at school. Neither was my name. It was gone from the attendance sheet. Like I was never enrolled. I asked the office about him. They said no one named Mr. Rook ever worked there. They even showed me the sub-list. Blank. I never saw him again. But sometimes in dreams, he still shows up. And when I wake up, I can still hear his voice in my head. You're not supposed to be awake. If these stories are already crawling under your skin, there's more where that came from. Hit subscribe now and keep the light on. You never know which story might be true. Some things hide in the woods, others behind walls. But sometimes terror lives where we feel safest, in the quiet hum of a basement light that should never be on. The light in my basement never turns on by itself. That's what I always told myself. It was a pull-chain bulb, no motion sensor, no switch upstairs. So when I walked past the basement door one night and saw the light under the crack, I froze. I live alone, and I hadn't been down there in days. I waited a few minutes listening, nothing. Then I opened the door. The stairs creaked under my weight. The light bulb swayed gently overhead like it had just been pulled. The air smelled like dust and cold stone. I walked around, nothing was out of place. But just as I turned to go back up, the light went out, and I heard footsteps behind me, barefoot, slow. I spun around, nothing. I pulled the chain, the bulb flickered back on. Still nothing. I walked back upstairs, closed the door, locked it, and I slept on the couch that night with the hallway light on. The next morning, I opened the basement again. The light was already on. That time I called the landlord. He said the wiring was old, maybe faulty, offered to send someone. I asked when the last tenants had moved out. He paused. They didn't move out, he said. They left in a hurry, never explained why. I stopped going down there. But every few nights I'd see the light on again. Then it got worse, because I started hearing knocking from the inside. 3 knocks, always around 2 a.m. Then one night there were footsteps, coming up the stairs, but the door was still closed, still locked. When I looked through the gap, pale, bruised fingers curling around the last step. I haven't opened that door since, but every now and then I hear the bulb chain click, and the light turns off on its own. Sometimes we hear things we can't explain. Sometimes we see them, and sometimes they find a way to reach us in the most vulnerable places. Like when we're watching someone we love, sleeping peacefully, or so we think. When my sister had her baby, she gave me her old baby monitor. I didn't need it, I live alone, but I kept it plugged in out of laziness. One night, I was reading on the couch, and the monitor crackled to life. Static, faint breathing. The other end of the monitor was in the guest room. Empty. I muted the TV and listened. More static, then a click, like someone adjusting the microphone, and then a whisper. Don't worry, she's asleep now. I got up slowly, my heart pounding. The hallway was dark. I walked toward the guest room. The door was open just a crack. The monitor light was glowing red, recording. I pushed the door open, no one. I unplugged the monitor, told myself it was interference from a neighbor's device. That happens, right? But 2 nights later, it happened again. Only this time, I heard a lullaby. Soft key. It wasn't one I recognized. It sounded old, grainy. I checked the room again, empty. Then I checked the monitor's playback log. There was a file saved. I played it. It was a voice whispering, "She cries at night, I comfort her." There was no child. I threw the monitor away the next morning. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear static from the wall outlet where it used to be plugged in. And last week, I woke up to find a stuffed animal lying on my guest bed. I don't own any toys. Some nightmares slip through wires, others through walls, and some ride quietly beside us unseen, until the moment we realize we're the only one who never got off the train. I caught the last train home. It was late, past midnight. The station was almost empty. Just me, a few sleepy passengers, and that hum of fluorescent lights. I got on, sat near the back. The train pulled away with a shudder. About 10 minutes in, I realized something strange. No one was moving. Every other passenger was sitting perfectly still. Eyes open, staring forward. I tried not to panic. Told myself maybe they were tired. Then the lights flickered. And every single one of them smiled at the same time. Identical. I stood up. The conductor passed through the car. He didn't look at me, just walked straight past like I wasn't there. I moved toward the front of the train. Every car I passed, same thing. People sitting still, smiling. No one blinking. No one breathing. When I got to the front, the driver's booth was locked. The windshield showed nothing, no tunnel, no station, just black. I turned around, and the train car behind me was empty. All the passengers had vanished. I ran back down the train. Car after car empty, except for the very last one. Inside, every passenger was there again, sitting, and this time, they were all looking at me. The nearest one whispered, "You weren't supposed to get on this one." I turned and ran to the doors, slammed the emergency button. Nothing. When I finally passed out, the train was still moving. I woke up alone, on a bench outside a station I'd never seen before. No signs, no people, just fog and a map with no names, and a single message carved into the bench beneath me. "You got off too soon. If you're still listening, you're one of the few who made it through." But there are more stories waiting. In the shadows, in the walls, and in the silence between uploads. So hit subscribe before the next one finds you first.